The summer of 1978. Anderstorp Raceway, Sweden. The air thrummed with the anticipation of a Formula One Grand Prix. But this wasn't just another race weekend, a palpable tension gripped the paddock. Rumors had swirled for weeks, whispers of a radical new design from the Brabham team, led by the enigmatic Bernie Ecclestone and brilliant engineer Gordon Murray. As the covers came off the new BT46B, the paddock fell silent, then erupted in a murmur of disbelief. What emerged was not just a new car, but a challenge to the very essence of F1 competition, an act of audacious engineering that promised to redefine the limits of speed and control. To understand the Brabham BT46B, we must first look back at the prevailing aerodynamic philosophy of the era. The late 1970s marked the dawn of the ground effect phenomenon in Formula One. Teams were discovering that by shaping the underside of their cars like an inverted aircraft wing, a Venturi tunnel, and sealing the sides with skirts, they could create immense suction, pulling the car to the track. This ground effect dramatically increased cornering speeds, but it was a complex dance between physics and engineering. Lotus, with their revolutionary Type 79, were leading this charge, leaving rivals scrambling to catch up. Brabham, while competitive, faced a unique challenge. Their BT46 chassis was powered by a formidable Alfa Romeo Flat 12 engine. This power plant was powerful but also notoriously wide, occupying a significant portion of the car's rear underside. This meant that Gordon Murray, Brabham's visionary chief designer, couldn't integrate the long, expansive Venturi tunnels that made the Lotus 79 so effective. He was blocked from pursuing the conventional ground effect route, leaving the team at a significant disadvantage in the downforce arms race. Murray needed a different kind of solution, a radical departure from the norm that could level the playing field. Murray's mind, however, was never bound by convention. Faced with the engine's width, he conceived of a daring, almost absurd solution. If the Venturi tunnels couldn't be designed to passively create downforce, why not actively suck the air out from underneath the car? His idea involved a large, engine-driven fan mounted at the rear, drawing air from a sealed underbody. This active ground effect would create a low-pressure zone beneath the car, pulling it down onto the track with incredible force, regardless of the car's speed. It was an engineering stroke of genius, both brilliant and deeply provocative. Such a device, a movable aerodynamic device, would normally be illegal under Formula One regulations. Rule 3.7 of the sporting regulations specifically prohibited any aerodynamic device whose primary purpose is to influence the aerodynamic characteristics of the car and which is not rigidly secured to the sprung part of the car. However, Murray, with Bernie Ecclestone's shrewd strategic mind, found a loophole. The fan, they argued, was primarily for cooling the monstrous Alfa Romeo engine. Its downforce generating effect was merely a beneficial byproduct. This technicality was audacious, bordering on cheeky, and set the stage for a dramatic confrontation between innovation and regulation. Under extreme secrecy, the Brabham engineers worked tirelessly to bring Murray's vision to life. The fan, driven by the engine through a gearbox, was a marvel of bespoke engineering. Its integration into the BT46 chassis, complete with sealing skirts that touched the ground to create the vacuum, required precision and ingenuity. Testing was minimal and conducted behind closed doors, away from prying eyes. The team knew they had something extraordinary, something that could be a game-changer if it worked as intended. The pressure was immense, but the potential reward, a significant competitive advantage, was even greater. The Brabham BT46B arrived at Anderstorp shrouded in mystery. As the covers finally came off for official scrutiny, the sight of the massive fan dominating the rear of the car sent shockwaves through the paddock. Rivals, particularly Colin Chapman of Lotus, immediately sensed foul play. The cooling justification felt flimsy at best. Yet, after intense scrutiny and a clever demonstration by Murray where he showed the fan genuinely blowing air over a radiator, the race stewards, under the watchful eye of Bernie Ecclestone, reluctantly deemed the car legal for the Swedish Grand Prix. The green light was given, but the controversy was just beginning to simmer. Driving the BT46B was the legendary Niki Lauda, a man known for his meticulous feedback and calm, analytical approach. Even he was astounded by the car's grip. "It stuck to the road like a leech," he reportedly remarked. The fan car generated unprecedented levels of downforce, allowing Lauda to take corners at astonishing speeds. The car was not without its quirks, however. The massive suction pulled small stones and debris from the track, pelting following cars and making for a unique, if unsettling, driving experience. But for Lauda, the sheer advantage in cornering grip overshadowed any minor inconveniences. During practice and qualifying sessions, the BT46B immediately demonstrated its devastating potential. Niki Lauda and his teammate John Watson were incredibly fast, consistently setting lap times that rivaled, and often surpassed, the dominant Lotus 79s. The roar of the Alfa Romeo engine, combined with the distinctive whine of the fan, became the soundtrack to a weekend of pure speed. The other teams watched in dismay, their carefully engineered ground effect cars suddenly rendered second best by Brabham's radical solution. It was clear this car wasn't just fast, it was in a league of its own, disrupting the established order. June 17, 1978. Race day at Anderstorp. The Brabham BT46B, with Niki Lauda at the wheel, started from second on the grid. From the moment the lights went out, the fan car proved its mettle. Lauda artfully managed a mid-race charge, taking the lead from the Lotus of Mario Andretti. The BT46B's incredible grip allowed Lauda to navigate corners with an almost unfair advantage, pulling away from the competition. It was a masterclass in driving combined with a monumental technological leap. The crowd watched in awe as Lauda extended his lead, demonstrating the raw, untamed power of active aerodynamics. After 70 laps of intense racing, Niki Lauda crossed the finish line victorious, securing a dominant win for the Brabham BT46B. It was a historic moment, marking the only race the radical fan car would ever compete in. Lauda himself described the experience as effortless, highlighting how the car just stuck. The margin of victory, while not a complete rout, demonstrated a clear advantage. The Brabham team celebrated, knowing they had pulled off one of the greatest technical coups in Formula One history. But the jubilation was short-lived, as the rumblings of discontent from rival teams grew louder, threatening to overshadow their triumph. The victory, rather than settling the debate, ignited a furious backlash. Other team principals, especially Colin Chapman, were incandescent with rage. They argued vociferously that the fan car fundamentally violated the spirit of the regulations, regardless of Murray's clever cooling justification. They claimed it was a movable aerodynamic device, pure and simple, and gave Brabham an unfair advantage that could not be matched without an entirely new car design. The air in the paddock was thick with accusations, protests, and thinly veiled threats of boycotts from multiple teams, creating a political crisis for the sport's governing body. The controversy quickly escalated into a full-blown battle between innovation and regulation. The question wasn't just about a specific rule, but about the very philosophy of Formula One. Should engineers be allowed to push boundaries to their absolute limit, even if it meant finding loopholes in existing rules? Or should the spirit of fair competition and safety take precedence? The FIA, Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, along with FISA, the sporting arm, found themselves in an unenviable position, pressured by powerful team owners who threatened to withdraw from the championship if the car was allowed to compete again. Faced with an unprecedented revolt from rival teams and the genuine threat of a championship boycott, Bernie Ecclestone, ever the shrewd businessman and political operator, made a strategic decision. Recognizing that the long-term stability of Formula One outweighed a single technological advantage, he voluntarily withdrew the BT46B from competition. While the car was never officially banned by rule amendment, Ecclestone's decision effectively retired it after just one legendary race. It was a pragmatic choice, prioritizing the unity of the sport over immediate gain, showcasing Ecclestone's growing influence and foresight within F1. And so, the Brabham BT46B Fan Car achieved legendary status after just one Grand Prix. Its single, dominant victory at the 1978 Swedish Grand Prix remains one of the most audacious and controversial moments in Formula One history. It stands as a testament to Gordon Murray's unparalleled engineering genius and Bernie Ecclestone's strategic prowess. The car, by its very existence, pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible, forcing both engineers and regulators to rethink their approaches to aerodynamic design and sporting integrity. The legacy of the Brabham Fan Car endures to this day. It represents the eternal struggle between unfettered innovation and the necessary constraints of regulation in competitive sport. While active aerodynamics were quickly banned more explicitly in subsequent rule changes, the BT46B's influence can still be seen in the aerodynamic sophistication of modern F1 cars, albeit through vastly different and regulated means. It proved that sometimes, the most groundbreaking solutions emerge from the most restrictive challenges. The fan car wasn't just a car, it was a statement, a bold declaration of engineering freedom that continues to fascinate and inspire.